You saw our release yesterday on the Board of Equalization certifying about $570 million in new revenue. And we saw what the majority party said about their priorities, but also I think we saw the majority party and the governor talk about putting a large chunk of that money into savings or into the rainy day fund. As we said after the State of the State, we think that every dollar of that money should be spent going to core services that have been cut very deeply over the last 8 to 10 years. We know that in terms of per pupil expenditure, we are far below where we need to be and far below surrounding states. And so we think that now is the time to invest in that. We have great needs when it comes to teacher pay, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to corrections. We have a lot of needs that far exceed that number that was certified. So we think it would be foolish not to use that money to invest in core services that desperately need that funding. You saw today the teacher pay raise that passed off of the House floor. This caucus has heard several times from many different teachers from many different districts who say, if you have to choose between a teacher pay raise and classroom funding, we choose classroom funding. They think that the teacher pay raise that we gave them last year was substantial, but they know that the walkout for them, and we heard them loud and clear, was not about teacher pay. It was about classroom funding. And so we see that as a greater need this session. If we have the money to do both, absolutely, we will support that. But we see classroom funding again as the top priority, and we're disappointed that we haven't seen any bills on that yet. We've had a JCAB meeting, a Joint Committee on Appropriations and Budget yesterday. We've had 3 A and B meetings, and we haven't seen anything in terms of classroom funding. And so we're disappointed that we haven't heard anything about that. We haven't actually passed anything about that. The Republican majority has talked about classroom funding a lot, but we haven't actually seen anything on that. And with that, I will take questions.
So are you open to any money going towards the rainy day fund, or you said every dollar or not?
Well, I think we have some constitutional obligations on what has to go into the rainy day fund. So, of course, we will be supportive of what the Constitution requires for the rainy day fund, but we don't think we should be putting any extra into the rainy day fund at this time. As we've said many times now, you have to pay your bills before you start saving, and we have a number of bills that have been piling up.
You say that more money should be going toward toward classroom rather than teacher pay raises, yet you voted in favor of the teacher pay raise.
Yeah, because we think that there might be the money to do both, but excuse me.
Take that again, I'm sorry.
Yes, got it. Okay. We support a teacher pay raise, and if there's money to do both, then we absolutely will support that. But I think we've made it clear that our priority is classroom funding, and teachers have made it clear that their priority is classroom funding.
Is there enough money to do both?
We will have to see. As I said, there are a lot of needs in a lot of different agencies that we've spelled out in terms of corrections and mental health and healthcare, and so it's early in the session, and we think that we have to sit down and crunch the numbers. We'll be coming out with our own budget to go along with our brand new state plan. We will be working on that with House staff to tell you exactly how we would spend the money.
It was mentioned today about the closing fund. That this was part of negotiations between the House and the governor, and obviously the leadership is negotiating on a bunch of things with the governor. Are you plugged in on those negotiations, or how involved are you?
No, we're not plugged in on the negotiations in terms of the closing fund or the appointment process, the governor wanting more power over appointing agency heads. And so we haven't been involved with that. I'm supposed to have breakfast with the governor in the next couple of weeks, but you heard on the floor time and time again Republicans saying this is a request from the governor. And so it seemed quite clear that the Republican caucus was really wanting their members to support this because it was something that the governor requested. And it seemed like almost a blind support of it because it's what the governor requested, without actually looking at where the money's coming from, how it's going to be spent, this transparency that we keep hearing about. There isn't a whole lot of transparency with this closing fund.
Is that something that anybody's looking at in terms of filing follow-up legislation, or looking for a vehicle that could address some of
The transparency issues. Oh, the supplementals.
Well, so what passed today, or what advanced today, was a supplemental for this fiscal year. So, as an aside, if you're concerned about transparency and all the issues that were discussed on the floor today, is there any consideration to trying to pass find a vehicle for legislation that would increase that transparency? I mean, I know this is like 30 minutes ago, but
Well, this wasn't our piece of legislation. And so when we bring up concerns, we expect the author to address those concerns. We weren't advancing legislation to put more money into the closing fund. And so we might be looking for opportunities to amend other bills to put some more of that transparency in there. But you heard me ask the representative who's running the bill if these agencies are created, this loft, the other agencies that deal with transparency and auditing, is this closing fund going to be a part of that? Are they going to be audited just like every other pot of money that you've heard the Republicans calling for time and time again? And I didn't get a clear answer on that. And so when those agencies come forward, of course, we'll be asking, is the closing fund a part of that? Or is that just a blank check for the governor to use however he wants without any oversight or accountability?
on healthcare, Senate Bill 605 advanced out of committee on the Senate side. I've heard that Representative McIntyre was dropping language into one of his bills to ensure Oklahoma expansion. Where do you stand on that? You've called for Medicaid expansion a lot. This isn't exactly that. This would be a private partnership, but where do you stand on the language that's presented now?
Right. Well, we've said for years that if Insure Oklahoma is the vehicle, then we would support that. That's a model that Arkansas used. They used the Insure Oklahoma model to expand Medicaid in their state, to accept the federal money. And so if it's using Insure Oklahoma, we would be supportive of that. The bottom line, what we're asking for is to accept the federal money to insure more Oklahomans. And so we are open to different ways to do that. But the priority for us is bringing our federal dollars home and making sure that more Oklahomans are insured so that hospitals in rural areas can stay open and access to health care can be expanded.
Given several incidents at OU, the Board of Regents yesterday expressed that they have confidence in President Gallagher. I'm curious, do you have confidence in the job he's doing right now?
Well, there have been some decisions that he's made that I've been supportive of and some that I haven't been supportive of. And so I unfortunately don't have a lot of the information that, no one has the information at what they looked at yesterday, because it's my understanding that they were in executive session the whole time. And so I'll be awaiting more information just like everyone else is. But I haven't spoken to President Gallagher. He's not reached out to me. And so I am sort of in the dark like a lot of other people.
Any other issues to put on our radar that you want us to watch in the next?
Well, I think in the Medicaid expansion conversation, we're going to hear a lot, and we've heard a lot already on the floor today when we talked about Representative Fettgatter talked a lot about return on investment. If we put in X number of dollars, we get this number of dollars back. We hope that we continue to see that argument from the Republican Party, that if we put in money, then we get money back and it's a great return on investment, that we should do that. We feel that way about Medicaid expansion. You heard the author of the bill talk about, well, we don't want any strings attached. We take federal money with strings attached all the time. every single year with many agencies. Federal dollars have strings attached. Education dollars have strings attached. And so to use this strings attached argument in terms of healthcare is just an excuse, really, to not do this good policy because of some sort of politics. And so I caution people in buying that argument, because by that same logic, we should send back transportation dollars, we should send back education dollars, but we're not, because it's a good deal for the citizens of the state.
Representative Walkey's child safety bill passed off the floor this week. How pleased were you with the passage of that bill, and that you guys were able to, get the majority on board to get that through?
Yeah, well, that was a common sense measure, and Representative Walkey has experience in that area and had worked on that bill for a while now, and so we hope that we continue to see, when we have good ideas, common sense measures that are not controversial, we hope we continue to see those bills get heard on the floor, whether they're authored by Democrats or Republicans.
Next week's deadline week, anything that your caucus has that you really hope gets a hearing that you're not sure about yet?
Well, committee deadline week.
That's not-
Yeah. We have several bills that are still awaiting hearings in committee. And so we can get you a list of those, but I don't know very many of them off the top of my head, because we've had a lot heard this week, but we still have a number of bills that need to receive a committee hearing. I have legislation that I've been working with Representative LePac on juvenile criminal justice reform, on the life without parole issue for juveniles, and we have, I know Representative Bennett has a criminal justice reform measure that is still awaiting a hearing in the Judiciary Committee. That's a committee we know that has a lot of bills that are assigned to it, so we know that it may be next week and it may be a long agenda, but that's okay. But we are still awaiting committee hearings for a substantial number of our bills.